Assalamu alaikum everybody. I hope you all are good, and today I welcome you to this online series of lectures. I'm going to talk about an interesting topic today, that is clause and its types. Clause? What is a clause? The term sounds so queer. It sounds so strange. But you don't need to be worried because it is not strange at all. We use it in everyday life, but sometimes some words, some things look so new and look so strange. I will tell you one example that I have faced in my real life. One day I went to a big restaurant and I saw the menu. When I saw it, there was a dish named as roasted crust with crushed potatoes inside. I was so surprised and I thought, wow, it looks so amazing. It might be something very tasty and something very delicious. So I ordered that. But when the waiter served the dish, I came to know it was the normal samosa that we used to eat every day. So sometimes things are named so strange, they are adorned, but in real life they are the same things that we use. So clause is a similar thing. It's a similar case with it. We use it in everyday life, but we don't know the name. So now we are going to know about it. So let us begin with the simple definition of sentence. We all know what a sentence is. It's a group of words that are united together to convey some meaning, to convey some message. Now, some of the sentences are called clause. Now the question arises, which sentences are called clause? So, for a sentence to be called as clause, there are two conditions. There are two necessary things that must be there in the sentence for it to be called as clause. What are they? Well, let's move towards that. The first thing is subject. Subject means the action performer, the doer of the sentence, the person, the body, the object that is performing a certain action is called subject. Normally nouns are called subject, but it can be otherwise, okay? And the second part that is necessary in a clause is called predicate. It looks strange, but predicate is nothing other than a sentence containing a verb. The part of the sentence that contains verb is called predicate. So we come to know that for a clause there are two necessary conditions. Now let us take an example. So you can see on the screen, he laughed. He. This is our subject, the one who is performing a certain action. And laughed. It is the predicate. It is the predicate. So he is the subject and laughed is predicate. It is the verb. It is the action of the sentence. So we talked about two conditions that are necessary for any sentence to be called as clause. So he laughed fulfill those conditions. Let's take another example. I will meet him in office. Now can you spot the subject? Yes. I is the subject, is the one who is performing the action, and will meet him. This is the predicate. It is a portion of the sentence where the action is being performed. So subject, predicate, And the leftover part is something else. We will talk about this in the next slide. It is something else. What it is, we will come to know in the other slide. Alright? So let's take the same example. The first part of the sentence which we concluded or which we talked about in the previous slide is I will meet him. This is a complete clause. Why it is called a complete clause? Because it has subject I and it has a predicate will meet him. But the remaining part of the sentence in office is neither a clause. Why? Because in office is just a word, is just a group of words that cannot stand alone. If I tell you in office, you won't know what in office, where in office, what am I talking about. It is a group of words that cannot complete its meaning. So we come to know the word, the group of words or the sentences that cannot convey their proper meaning are called phrases. Fine. So up till now we have two kind of sentences, phrases and clauses. Let's repeat what we have studied so far. Clause has a subject and a predicate, whereas phrase is an incomplete sentence. It cannot convey its meaning. Now we do have a bunch of examples of clauses. But before that, you should know that a clause may stand as a simple sentence or may join another clause to make a sentence. So, a sentence consists of one, two, or more clauses. Let's look at the example. He is sleeping. This is one clause, one complete clause because it has a subject and a predicate. He is the subject and is sleeping is predicate. Let's look at another example. The kids were laughing at the Joker. The kids were laughing. The sentence is complete up to this point. The kids were laughing. Now at the Joker, what do we call it? It's just a phrase. It doesn't have a complete sense. It doesn't have a complete thought. So it is just a phrase. Now let's talk about another example. The teacher asked a question. Now the teacher is subject, the one who is performing the action. Asked a question is a predicate. So this sentence gave us both things. It gave us subject, it gave us predicate. The sentence is complete. But there is some remaining part of the sentence, that is no one. No one is also a subject. Answered. Answered is verb. It's an action. It is a predicate. So in this sentence, we have two subjects and two predicates. It means we do have two complete clauses over here. Fine. Now another example. I am happy. I is the subject. Am happy is the predicate. So this is one complete clause. We got the meaning that I am happy, I am good, I'm fine. But the sentence is not complete. It has another clause. I is a subject. Won a prize is a predicate. So in this sentence we have two clauses. I am happy and I won a prize. Two subjects, two predicates. Let's look at the next example. I, the subject, like mathematics. It's a complete clause because it has a subject I and predicate like mathematics. Fine? But the sentence is not complete over here. We have something else over here. Look, my brother another subject, one more doer, one more performer of action, one more subject. My brother likes biology. Likes, liking is some action, liking is a verb, so it is a predicate. We got another subject, my brother, and we got another action, another predicate, likes biology. But the sentence is not complete yet. There is something else in the sentence as well. We got another subject. Can you find that? Yeah. He. He is another subject. And this subject has a predicate as well. Wants to become a doctor. He wants to become a doctor. Good. So in this sentence we have one, two, and three clauses. So we come to know that every sentence can have one clause, two clause, or three clause, or there can be multiple clauses. So there is no limitation of clauses in any sentence. Now every clause is divided into two parts. The first is main clause. From the main, the word main, ponder at that, look at that, think of that. What is main? Yeah, main is someone who is all dominant, who is the head of something, who doesn't need permission of somebody. Yes? Yeah, you got it right. And subordinate clause. Subordinate clause means someone who bends down, someone who works under somebody, someone who is just performing a service to somebody. So main clause can be called as independent clause. Independent means the one that can stand alone. If we speak one sentence, if we utter a sentence, it doesn't need any more explanation. People will get that done and there. But with subordinate clause, people will get confused that what are you saying? They will ask you for more details. It might look confusing right now, but we will jump into next slide to find some more details. So, main clause and subordinate clause. Main clause can stand alone, but subordinate clause cannot stand alone. We have one example over here. Let's talk about that. He is buying a shirt. He is a subject. Yes or no? Yes, he is a subject. Is buying a shirt. It's a complete predicate. It means we got a clause over here, that is he is buying a shirt. Yes? Yeah, cool. Now which which is a subject. This is the shirt. At the moment we are talking about the shirt, and shirt is a subject over here. Looks is a verb, so looks very nice is a predicate. Fine. So we got another clause over here which looks very nice. But the question is, if we separate these two clauses, one of them can clear its meaning, but the other one will lack details. For example, if I say to you, I'm buying a shirt, you will say, okay, fine, good, that's nice. It means you got what I am saying. But what if I will say you only that which looks very nice? You will altogether get confused and you will ask me, what what looks very nice? Sorry, is that a girl? Is that a boy? Or is that something, some shirt? So you have a confusion right now. It means the first sentence, he is buying a shirt, has cleared its meaning, cleared its concept, but the other shirt has not cleared its meaning. So we call it independent clause and we call it dependent clause. Fine? Interesting? Here is the description of the same slide, that he is buying a shirt is an independent clause, and which looks very nice is a dependent clause, we need to find out the difference. So the main difference is the same. A thing that can convey its meaning independently and it doesn't need any other detail, any further suggestion, is called main clause or independent clause. While the clause which looks very nice in the previous example, it cannot express complete thought and can't stand as a sentence. So it depends on another clause. When somebody depends on another, it is called dependent. So same is the case with the slide, same is the case with the sentence which depend on another is called dependent clause. So here we have some examples for the same topic, main or independent clause and dependent clause. Look at the first example. I met a boy, which is where is the subject? Hmm? Where is the subject? I is the subject. Met the boy is the action, is the predicate. So the sentence is complete up to this point. I met the boy. It means it has subject, it has predicate, so it is a clause. Who had helped me? Who? Who is the same boy? It means it is a subject. Had helped me. It has an action? Yes, it has predicate. So this is another clause. Who had helped me? Now let us separate these two parts of the sentence. These two are clauses. But what is the difference between these two? I met the boy. If I say like I met a boy, you will come to know that there is a boy and I met him. The concept is clear. You don't need further elaboration. But what if I say to you, who had helped me? You will be confused. You will ask me, who helped you? Whom are you talking about? Who made you do something? Are you talking about this person? Are you talking about that person? Or is that something that helped you? So the other person will get confused on what I'm saying. It means the second clause is not completely conveying its message, and we can call it dependent clause. Clear? The next example, she is the subject, is wearing a shirt. Wearing a shirt, a predicate. It means the clause is complete up to this point. The next portion is also a clause, which looks nice. But when I will say which looks nice, you will ask me who looked nice. Is that a girl? Is that a thing? What are you talking about? I'm not getting you. So which looks nice is a clause, but it cannot convey the complete meaning. It can cause confusion. Therefore, we can call it a dependent clause, a subordinate clause, a clause that needs further explanation. Let's jump to the next example. The teacher, its subject, asked a question. Asked a question is a predicate. The clause is complete up to this point. We got the meaning. But there is another clause. But no one. No one is a subject. Answered is a predicate, is a verb. No one answered is another clause. But what if I say no one answered? The other person will get confused. He will ask me, who didn't answer you? Whom are you talking about? So the other portion, no one answered, failed to convey its message, failed to convey its purpose, failed to convey the information. Therefore, it is called a dependent clause. I hope you all are getting my points. We have further examples. He takes medicine. He is, yeah, tell me. Yes, he is a subject. takes medicine. What about this? Oh yeah, that's the predicate. The sentence is complete over here. The clause is complete. But there is something left in the sentence. Let's look toward that. We got another subject. Suffers from fever. Another predicate. So there are two predicates in this sentence. And I think they both are complete. They both are independent. Why? Because he takes a medicine gives a complete sentence. He suffers from fever gives a complete information. So if we break both, they can stand independently. They can convey their message independently. He became angry, one thing, and smashed the vase into pieces. I'm sorry, the spelling of pieces isn't correct over here. We need to change it. So I hope you will correct that. He became angry. Complete sentence. It has a subject, it has a predicate, so we can call it clause. Smash. Smash means to break something, to crush something. The vase. Vase means the pot in which we put the flowers. So smash the vase into pieces cannot clear its meaning. It is depending on further detail. Who smashed the vase? What caused this vase to be smashed? So the next part is a dependent clause. In the first part, he became angry, clears the meaning that there is a person who got angry on certain thing. And you will get that so easily. So in the above sentences, each underlined part shows the main clause except the one that I mentioned, he suffers from fever. The rest of the clauses are clear and they are dependent. It expresses complete thought and can stand as a sentence. That is why a main or an independent clause is normally referred as simple sentence. Got it? Now we have talked about independent clause. Let's jump to the subordinate clause. Let me define it for you. It is a clause which does not express complete thought and depends on another clause to express complete thought. Complete thought means meaning. It doesn't convey its meaning and the other person gets confused. For clarification, he needs more detail. It means subordinate clause depends upon some independent clause, something that can clear its meaning, something that can complete it. Alright? It doesn't have a complete idea and it cannot stand as a sentence because for a sentence it is compulsory to convey the meaning, to clear the concept. When a sentence is unable to complete its information, is failing to give the clear idea, it is not a sentence. Let's look at this example. He likes Chinese rice. Yum. I love it too. He likes Chinese rice which tastes good. He is a subject. Likes Chinese rice is a predicate. The clause is complete over here. The sentence is giving a complete meaning over here. But which? It means the rice. It's another subject. Tastes good, a predicate. But when I will say which tastes good, obviously you're gonna ask me what tastes good. You're talking about some dish, you're talking about some sweet dish, you're talking about something spicy. So you will be confused altogether. So this sentence cannot complete its meaning. It means it is a subordinate clause. Cool? Yes, it is. It does not express complete thought and can't stand as a sentence. It depends on main clause. He likes Chinese rice to express the complete thought. So we have a bunch of examples over here and I want you to do them. Can you do them for me? Can you find out which are the independent clauses and which are the dependent clauses? Who had helped me is a subordinate clause that cost $100. Subordinate clause because he suffers from fever. If we talk about this because, if we will begin the sentence from here, it's a dependent clause. The teacher asked a question but no one answered. Dependent clause. If we will consider the sentence from these words, it is subordinate clause. They are not complete sentences because they are not giving the complete information. About this sentence, I will say if it begins with he, it's it's an independent clause. But if it begins with because, it is a dependent clause. Now, subordinate clause is further divided into some pieces. Oh my god, it looks so hectic. No, it's not hectic. It's interesting. Trust me, you know about that in the normal routine. So let's talk about the three examples of subordinate clause. They are the normal things that we know already with a slight twist of variation. So the first type of these clause, subordinate clause, is noun phrase. A sentence that is a phrase that is beginning with noun. You remember the phrase incomplete sentence. Phrase is an incomplete sentence. But if a phrase begins with a noun, it is a noun phrase, then adjective phrase and adverb phrase. We will talk about in detail about these phrases, about these types of subordinate clause in the next slide. So the previous slide is explained a bit in this one. Let me read it for you. A subordinate clause may function as a noun. It can act as a noun to name something. It can act as an adjective to qualify something, or it can help to, or it can perform the role of an adverb. An adverb is a word that adds to another verb, an adjective, or another adverb. On the basis of their function in a sentence, subordinate clause can be divided into three types. We have talked about these three types in the previous slide: the noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause. Let's talk about detail of these clauses in the slide. So first of all, let's begin with the noun clause. So these clauses are always dependent. Why they are called dependent? Because they cannot clarify their meaning, they cannot convey their meaning. So a dependent clause that functions as a noun in a sentence is called a noun clause. Now we have one example over here. We will talk about that. What he did. This part of the sentence, the subject of the sentence, contains a noun clause. Made a problem for his family. Made is the predicate, is the subject, is the predicate part of the sentence. So before predicate in any clause we have subject. But this subject is not only confined to he, it has some other material with it. That's why we call it a noun clause. Now the question arises is how can you identify a noun clause? So for that you should keep in mind that the words or the sentences or the phrases that begin with that, or they begin with what, or they begin with whatever, who, whom, whomever, or whosoever, or whomever are called noun clauses. So if you get to see a sentence and you're confused that what part is it, and then suddenly you come to know about these words, that, what, whatever, who, whomsoever, whom, whoever. If the sentence is beginning with these words, it means it's a noun clause. It is a subordinate clause. Got it? Now we have some examples over here. Whatever you learn will help you in future. The sentence is beginning with whatever. It means it's a noun clause. You have to identify the predicate. The predicate will begin with auxiliary verb, will help you in the future. So before the predicate we always have a subject. It means whatever you learn is the subject of the sentence, and it is beginning with whatever. It means it's a noun clause. So here in this sentence, noun clause is acting as a subject. Let's look at the next sentence. What you said made me laugh. First of all, you have to identify the sentence is beginning with what, and the sentence that begins with what is a noun clause, has a noun clause in it. So we identified that there is a noun clause, but we need to find out, is it acting as a subject or a predicate or as an object. So let's find out the predicate of the sentence, and the predicate begins with made me laugh. This is the predicate. Look at the noun part. It comes before predicate. It means it is a subject. So we can clearly say that in this sentence, what you said is a noun clause and it is acting as a subject. Let's jump to another example. He knows that he will pass the test. He is a subject. We have identified it. Knows is a verb, is an action, is a predicate. So that he will pass the test is also a predicate. But the sentence is beginning with that. And the phrase, the part of the sentence that begins with that is called a noun clause. So noun clause is coming at the end of the sentence. It is acting as an object in this sentence. So we can say that the noun clause can act as a subject, as a predicate, or as an object. So let us jump to the next slide to find more details. So now is the time to talk about adjective clause. What is an adjective clause? It is a dependent clause and it acts as an adjective in a sentence. So now the question arises, what is an adjective? An adjective is a word that modify a noun. What does modify mean? It means to add to details of a noun or to describe a noun. It can be a noun, it can be a pronoun. Noun is a name, and pronoun, the word that replaces a noun like he, she, it. So a clause that acts as adjective is called adjective clause. The clause that has a phrase that acts as adjective is called adjective clause. Let's look at some example. He wears a shirt. Can you identify the subject? Hmm? Yes, he. He is the subject. Can you identify the predicate? We have done this example before. Wears a shirt. This is a predicate. Now the next part of the sentence, which looks nice, is also a clause, but this clause is not independent. It is dependent clause. We have talked about it in the previous slides. So although it is dependent, what is this clause about? It is modifying or it is describing the shirt. It is telling us about the quality of the shirt, that the shirt looks very nice. So it means here we are talking about quality of a noun. We are talking about the description of the noun. Yeah, you got it right. So this part of the sentence, this phrase is acting as an adjective. It's playing the role of adjective. An adjective clause always precedes the noun it modifies. It means it always comes after the noun. For example, shirt is the noun and which looks nice is preceding the shirt. It means it is modifying the word shirt, the noun shirt. So an adjective clause, adjective phrase always comes after the noun that it is describing. Got it? Yes. So let us talk about examples of adjective clause. We have sentences over here, and we're not going to detail of independent and dependent clause. We are only going to find out what adjective clause. Yes, you got me right. So let's read the first sentence. I met the boy who had helped me. I met the boy who had helped me. So I met the boy is a complete clause. Who had helped me? They are talking about a boy who had helped me. So who had helped me is describing the quality, the quality and the good habit of a noun. It is describing or it is giving the detail of the boy. So it is preceding a noun and it is adding to details of a noun. So it is an adjective clause. Let's talk about the next sentence. An apple that smells bad is rotten. First of all, we will find out the subject. Which one is the subject? Apple. Apple is acting as a noun. Where's the predicate? Is rotten. It's the predicate part. So there remains a portion in the middle that smells bad. What is this? Can you tell me? It is adding to details. It is telling us about a noun. What is a noun? Apple. It is telling us about a noun and it is saying that apple smells bad. They are talking about a noun. It is preceding a noun. So the phrase, the part of the clause that follows a noun and it adds to that noun, it describes that noun, is called an adjective clause. So that smells bad is an adjective clause. Can you find out the adjective clause in the next sentence? I will just highlight for you. You got to find it. Did you find that? Yes, you got it. The book which I like is helpful in the preparation for test. The book is a noun. Which I like is adding to detail of a noun. I'm talking about a book that I like. It's not another book. It's not the book which I don't like. It is the book that I like. So which I like is an adjective phrase. It's an adjective clause and it is adding to the noun book. Great. Another example. I'm just pointing out things for you to find out the adjective clause. Uh-oh, I committed a mistake. Will you please apologize for me for that? I know you are so kind. Yes, thank you. The house consists of 4 rooms. This is a complete sentence. If I will say the house consists of 4 rooms, you will get to know that I'm talking about a house and it consists of 4 rooms. But there is a small portion of in the sentence where I live. So this is adding to detail of the house. House is a noun and where I live is telling you about a specific house where I live. So it is adding to details of a noun. It's coming after a noun. Since it is coming after a noun and it's adding to details of a noun, it is an adjective clause. Very good. The next sentence is just for you. You gotta find out the adverb clause. Yeah, you got that right. Who was shouting? Let's talk about some details of adjective clause. They begin with relative pronoun. If a sentence begins with, if a clause begins with that, who, whom, whose, which, or whose, and is coming just after a noun, is called adjective clause. Adjective clauses can be restrictive clause or non-restrictive clause. Now here comes another confusion. What are restrictive clauses and what are non-restrictive clauses? So you don't need to be worried, they're quite simple and we will know them about in like few seconds. Let's jump to the. So what are restrictive and non-restrictive clauses? Look at the word restrict. Restrict means to bound something, to limit something to certain area. So when you bound something, when you limit something, it means you are restricting. And if you are giving a free hand to somebody, it is called non-restrictive. Same is the case with clause. If a clause restricts the noun, it means if it say talk about one noun and when the sentence would be complete, you will come to know that this is the particular noun that was being talked about. Whereas in a non-restrictive clause, the noun can be anybody. After the completion of sentence, you can pick anybody as a noun. You won't be confined to choose one person or one noun. Here are the example. The student in the class, let me highlight the portion, passed the test. They are talking about student in the class had passed the test. Now they have added a clause into it, who studied a lot. The student in the class who studied a lot passed the test. This is a restrictive clause. Why it is restrictive? They are talking about one student who has studied a lot. Obviously, the person who studied a lot in the test is going to pass the test, and there is only one student who has passed the test. So definitely the person who is going to pass the test is the one who studied a lot. So this who studied a lot is restricting the student. It means there is only one student who has studied a lot. There are not multiple students who have passed the test. Only one student has passed the test. Got it? A bit confusing? Let's see an example of non-restrictive clause. The student in the class who had attended all the lectures passed the test. The first and the last sentence are same. Let's talk about the middle portion. Who had attended all lectures. Now it is quite possible that more than one student attend all the lectures. If we talk about studying, not all the students study in the same way. There might be someone who studies a lot. But in this sentence, it is all about attending the lectures. So it is quite possible that more than one students have attended the lecture, so they have passed the test. It means this sentence is not restricting the noun. It is not restricting the number of students. There can be one student, there can be two students, there can be three students. So it depends upon the number of the students that have attended the lectures. It can be confusing right now, but I'm going to clear the whole confusion in the next slide and we'll talk about the examples. here we have just explained the detail of what we have studied back in the restrictive clause and non-restrictive clause. In the first sentence, the clause "who studied a lot" is a restricted clause, is restricting the information of preceding noun. It means there is only one student in the class who studied a lot, hence it is a restrictive clause. Whereas in the second sentence, the clause "who had attended all the lectures" give us information about the preceding noun, but does not limit the information. It means there can be several other students in the class who had attended all the lectures. Still confusing? So we got a simple example, a simple thing to identify a restrictive and non-restrictive clause. A restrictive clause is an essential part of sentence. Without it, the meaning of sentence can change. Alright? If a restrictive clause is not in the sentence, the meaning of sentence can change. And there are no commas in it. Whereas in a non-restrictive clause, I'm sorry, there is a slight mistake, it's non-restrictive clause. In a non-restrictive clause, there are commas before and after the clause. Alright? There is always a comma before and after the clause. So you can identify the restrictive and non-restrictive clauses by the use of comma. If there are commas, it is non-restrictive clause, and if there are no commas, it is restrictive clause. The second thing to identify it is that is usually used to introduce a restrictive clause. You can identify a restrictive clause by the use of that. Whereas a non-restrictive clause always begins with which. It has a which in it. So if you come across the sentence, there is which in it, it means it's a non-restrictive clause. And if there is a that in it, it is restrictive clause. So we got some examples over here. Let me use the highlighter for you to find out the details. I hope you will learn it so easily. Just it will take some seconds. Alright. Let me pick up another highlighter for you. I'm sorry, I just highlighted extra things. Sometimes it happens that when you're in a hurry and you're not focusing, you commit mistakes. So it is very essential to focus on the things. I just wanted to highlight this thing. And one more highlighter for you to identify this. So I'm done. So look at the yellow highlighter. These are the sentences, common sentences. Fine, we don't need to be bothered about that. Then look at the words that are highlighted in green. One is beginning with that and the other one is beginning with which. So the first one that is beginning with that is a restrictive clause, and the second one which is beginning with which is a non-restrictive clause. Now look at the blue. Sky blue? Yeah, sky blue. So in the first sentence, there are no commas, whereas in the second sentence, there are commas before and after the clause. So commas are always present in non-restrictive clause. Why we put commas? We put commas around the portion that is not necessary. We put a pause over there, and if we omit this portion from the sentence, the meaning of the sentence won't change. Okay? Whereas in the first portion, if we pick out the portion that cost $100, the meaning of the sentence will change. Let's read the sentence. The table that cost $100 is made of steel. They are talking about a table that is made of steel and it cost $100. Alright, if we take out the $100 from this, the table is made of steel. It can be any table. The meaning of the sentence will change, but that cost $100 is specifying that they are talking about a particular table. They are not talking about any ABC. They are talking about a particular table. Fine. Whereas the next clause, the table which cost $100 is made of steel. Every table that cost $100, every table that cost $100 is made of steel. So they are generalizing table. They are saying that there can be one table, two table, or there can be multiple tables. So the first one is talking about only one table. The quality of the table is that it costs $100, whereas the second sentence is talking about all the tables that cost $100. Got that? Now I hope you would be able to identify what is restrictive clause and which one is non-restrictive clause. And let's jump to adverb clause. First of all, what is an adverb clause? It's a dependent clause that functions as an adverb in a sentence. It plays role of an adverb. Now, how can it play a role of an adverb? It can modify a verb, it can modify an adjective, or it can modify another adverb clause in a sentence. Now, what is the modification all about? What kind of modification can be there in a sentence? So it can modify. Remember, modify means to describe something, to add details to something. So it can modify a clause in terms of time. It means it can give some information about time. Or it can talk about frequency, how frequent the thing is, how often the thing is happening. It can describe this kind of detail. Or it can talk about cause and effect. Cause and effect means something is making other thing happen. Something is giving something in return, an action and its reaction. Or it can give the detail of contrast. It can talk about condition of something, or it can intensify intensity, or it can tell us about intensity of something. Intensity means the level of extremeness of something, how extreme a thing is or how extreme it is not. Now the subordinating conjunctions used for the adverb clauses are as follows. If it is talking about time, the adverb clause will begin with when, whenever, since, until, before, after, while, as, by, time, as soon as. If they are talking about, or if they are adding to detail of cause and effect, they will always begin with because, since, now that, since, as long as, so, and so that. If they are talking about contrast, they will always begin with although, even, whereas, while, though. And if they are adding to condition of certain thing, they will begin with if, unless, only if, whether or not, even if, provided or provided that, in case. You have to just remember these terms, and if they appear in the sentence, it means there is an adverb clause and what it is adding to, what kind of detail it is giving. So let's move to the next slide and find out examples. We are supposed to solve them. So the first example is do not go before he comes. Do not go before he comes. So here they are talking about time, that you're not supposed to go before he comes. They are talking about a specific time until and unless he can He arrives over here, he comes, you are not allowed or you are not supposed to go. Fine. So they are talking about time. He takes medicine because he is ill. Why he is taking medicine? He is taking medicine as a reaction of something. There is a cause, there is a sickness, and the sickness is giving the effect of medicine. They are giving refuge in the form of medicine. So there is a cause, and the effect of that cause is he has to take medicine. Fine. Then, although he tried a lot, although he tried a lot, he couldn't climb up the tree. So although is contrast. It's talking about contrast between two conditions, two statements. Now the next sentence is unless you study for the test, you can't pass. It is talking about a condition that if you won't study, you won't be able to pass. So this adverbial clause is talking about condition. It's adding to condition. I will go to school unless it rains. Unless, so it's also talking about condition. You're safe as long as you drive carefully. As long as it's talking about, you have to tell me. Yes, please make an effort to tell me. So as long as is talking about time, duration. So this clause adds to the details of time. And the last sentence, that is, you can achieve anything provided that you struggle for it. First we have to find out the adverbial clause, provided that. Now provided that is talking about the condition. It's telling us about a condition and we have to work on that. Fine. So I hope you might have understand everything. And here is a bunch of references for these slides if you need any more query to be answered, or if you have any confusion, you can click on these links and find out the details. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. I hope this lecture would be helpful for you, and if there is any kind of confusion, you can feel free to hit me. I wish you a nice day and nice learning lifestyle. Have a nice day and take care.